Well, good morning, friends, and aloha. I am not really a scientific person, so I'm not a scientist at all. So if you find that there are not much of scientific proof on this talk, so then you know that is why, because I'm not a scientist. You probably have asked this question when you first heard that I'm going to talk about life after death. What the hell does he knows about life after death? And it's a good question. I view it as a legitimate question because I know nothing about life after death. So I'm here to talk to you not what I know about life after death, because I know nothing about life after death, but I'm here to talk to you of what Abdu'l-Baha knows and said about life after death. It is a delicate subject. It's a subject that probably there are more questions asked about it than any other subject. And I'm not surprised if there are more people in the world that does not believe in life after death than those who believe and accept life after death. If we consider the amount of people that belongs to organizations, denominations, individual beliefs that deny the existence of life after death, those who believe in the evolution, that believe that we evolved from the animal and deny the existence of the soul in the beginning. And then we have those who believe in reincarnation, which is divided into two divisions. One division of reincarnation believe that we will return in a form of an animal as punishment. This is called transmigration. And the other division of reincarnation believe that we will return in the form of a human being, and it will be repeated until we will become perfect beings. Both divisions of reincarnation deny the existence of life after death. Deny the existence of the soul, and then deny the existence of life after death. Then we have those Christian denominations that believe that when we die, we stay in our grave, and when Jesus Christ returns, we will resurrect from our grave in a physical body, but it's a perfect physical body that it won't die, and then we live everlastingly on this earth. Then we have individual beliefs, like a known New Zealand theologian named Gearing. What's his first name? Lloyd Gearing. I read an article of his impending lecture at the University of Otago, which he mentioned in this article two of his beliefs. One, he said he does not believe that Jesus Christ's resurrection is a physical resurrection. I agree with him in that belief. The other, he said that the human being does not have an immortal soul, and I disagree with him in that belief. And then we have a very well-known Swiss professor named Dr. Auguste Farrer. Dr. Auguste Farrer wrote to Abdu'l-Baha on Abdu'l-Baha's last year on earth, and praising the principles of the faith that advocate by Abdu'l-Baha. And he posed a question in this letter that he sent to Abdu'l-Baha, asking him if it's all right for him to embrace the faith and still entertain thoughts and beliefs as a Mun, which believe that the mind or the soul are inseparable from the brain. So when the body of man dies with the brain included, then the mind or the soul also die. Abdul Baha wrote back to, or revealed a tablet to Dr. Gasfaro. And this tablet, I recommend you to read it. It's a gem full of knowledge. Was later, Shoghi Effendi described this tablet of Baha'u'llah, of Abdul Baha, as one of the weightiest ever come from the pen of Abdul Baha. Dr. Gasfaro later became a Baha'i. This tablet reached Dr. Gasfaro. Unfortunately, Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha passed away before this tablet reached him. So you can see why I have said that there might be more people belongs to beliefs that deny the existence of life after death than those who believe. If you can see the amount of people that belongs to this organization and have the similar individual beliefs as the two I've just mentioned, they are numbered in millions. So it's not surprised that there are more of them do not believe in life after death. Now, I have selected two subjects talked about life after death that I do believe that it will help us, assist us in our reflection on this important subject matter. And one of those subjects is the immortality of the soul or the spirit. Speaking generally, there are 5 divisions of spirit in the world of existence. The first is what we call the vegetable spirit. This is a power that comes from the combinations of elements and the mingling of the substances. And by the degree of the Almighty God, the power of growth is produced. And when these elements and substances that are combined together are separated from each other, this power will also cease to exist. Another example is the source of electricity and the light bulb joined together, and then we have this light. If I remove the bulb from this source of electricity, then this light will also disappear. Such is the vegetable spirit. The next degree of spirit in the world of existence is the animal spirit. This spirit also comes as a result of the combinations of elements and the mingling of the substances. But this combination is of more complete. By the degree of the Almighty Lord, the power, the animal spirit, or the power of the senses is produced. And when these elements that are combined together to produce this animal spirit are disassociated from each other, this power will also cease to exist, or will also disappear. The next degree of spirit in the world of existence is the human spirit. This is the divine creation of God, the greatest gift of God to man, this human spirit. We will return to elaborate on the human spirit, for this is the one that relates to our subject of the day, and that is of life after death. The 4th degree of spirit in the world of existence is the divine spirit, spirit of faith. It comes from the breath of the Holy Spirit. It is this spirit that gives us power that makes an earthly man heavenly, an ignorant man wise. It purifies and sanctifies those who are made captive by carnal desire. And the 5th degree of spirit is the divine spirit, or the Holy Spirit. These are the manifestations of God. Their appearance on earth is like the return of spring. The whole earth is renewed. You see sweet-scented herbs start to appear, and trees put out new leaves and new fruits. So the appearance of the manifestation of God is like the appearance of spring. Today, the appearance of Baha'u'llah on earth, this earth put on a new garment. Baha'u'llah brought teachings and laws to renew the whole earth. So there are 9 divisions of spirit in the world of existence. They are the vegetable spirit, the animal spirit, the human spirit, the spirit of faith, and the Holy Spirit. Now let us return to the human spirit and examine this spirit in detail. What distinguishes man from the animals is that he possesses what we call the human spirit. The scientific philosophers called it the rational soul, and Abdul Baha demonstrates the human spirit and rational soul as meant the same thing. What is the human spirit or rational soul? According to Abdul Baha, it is a one indivisible substance. The scientific philosophers demonstrate it as a simple element. Simple here meaning not composed. It's not a composition of elements. Our body is a composition of elements. Our spirit is not a composition of elements. Since our body is a composition of elements, it is necessary for it to decompose. Since our spirit is not a composition of elements, it's not necessary for it to decompose. Decomposition is an inherent property of every composition. An inherent property of a thing cannot be separated from the main thing itself. For instance, the solar rays are the inherent properties of the sun. You cannot separate the solar rays from the sun because they are its inherent properties. Decomposition is an inherent property of composition, and you cannot separate decomposition from composition because it is its inherent property. Our body is composition of elements. Therefore, it's necessary for it to decompose because it is its inherent property. What's the relationship of our soul or spirit to our body? Our soul or spirit does not descend into the body. It's not in the body. It's not part of the body. But it has a connection with the body, like the connection of the reflection of the image of an object in the mirror. I brought a little mirror to give you the demonstration. I love this mirror. $2 shop mirror. And I love it the day I bought it. I don't remember how many years ago. Because it even comes with a photo of my beautiful wife on the other side. I did that, and that was from the magazine. Now let's say this mirror is the body, and I'll use my handsome face as the soul. If I look in the mirror, I can see the soul in the body. So if I turn this mirror in different direction, different angles, all of you should be able to see the soul in the body. Can someone confirm to me that you can see the soul in the body? Isaac Tufunga. Isaac Tufunga, can you see the soul in the body?
All I can see is your handsome face and your beautiful wife. Oh,
he's got me there. I set him up to do this. I didn't know he was going to say that. Now, when this body, which is a composition of elements, and it's necessary for it to decompose, when it does decompose, the soul or the spirit that you saw in that body, which is, in this case, my face, is not affected by its decomposition. Why? Because the soul or spirit is not in the body. It's not part of the body. It's only connection. It's like the reflection of the image of an object in a mirror. Why? Because our soul or spirit is not a composition of elements. Therefore, it's not necessary for it to decompose. When does our souls begin? There is a theory that does exist among the friends that I heard myself. I used to believe it myself too. That there is a pool of souls or a world of souls somewhere, and God plugged out our souls from this pool of souls to enter this world. That is not so, according to the description of Abdul Baha in some answer question. Abdul Baha said that the human soul is phenomenal. Phenomenal here meaning at its birth, it has a beginning. But once it comes into existence, it has no end. Phenomenal is the opposite of pre-existence. If our souls did exist in a pool of souls or world of souls somewhere before we come to this world, then we are not phenomenal, but we are pre-existent. Then we are like the manifestations of God, eternal in a past, eternal in a future. We are not eternal in a past. We have a beginning. But once we come into existence, we are eternal in a future. When does our soul begin? According to Abdul Baha, it begins at a time of conception. In a letter from Chogi Fendi to an individual, you can find this letter in Light Guidance. He said the human soul begins at the time of conception of the physical body. I'll use myself here to demonstrate the point. I am 49 years young, born on the 9th of December, 1956. Let's say, for the sake of argument, I was a full-term baby of 9 months. Then I would have been conceived on the 9th of March, 1956. My soul was only created by God on that date. Before that date, a soul by the name of Pesa White was an absolutely non-existent. My soul was only created by God on 9th March 1956 at the time of conception of my physical body. If you ask me if it was on daytime or nighttime, or was it under a coconut tree or a banana tree, I'll answer that question when I put that question to my mother and father next world. And revealing to you their answer would depend on how embarrassing their answer would be. So you heard the good news about our souls, friend, that even though we are phenomenal, but once we come into existence, we will live forever. We are eternal. We are everlasting. Now, I'm not going to only tell you the good news about our souls. I'm going to tell you, too, some bad news about our souls. According to Abdul Baha, the human soul has two aspects. One aspect is divine or angelic. The other is satanic. If we allow justice, love, kindness, trustworthy characters, and all the virtues to our lives will become divine or angelic. But if we allowed injustice, hatred, racism, untrustworthy characters, and all the vices to our lives, we become satanic. More bad news for us. According to Abdul Baha'i, we are under the influence of two forces. One is called the thought force, the other is the animal force. And each one is trying to pull or drag our souls to be under its control. And one more bad news for us. Out of all the virtues of God, none we are subjected to its power. Abdul Baha'i said that we are subjected to the power of lust. I'll use myself here to demonstrate. If we are subjected to the power of lust, and I watch pornography, I'm not doing my thought force a favor. In fact, I'm helping my animal force to take control and subsequently conquer the divine and angelic aspect of my soul, and I become a Satan. When I reach that stage of Satan, all my thoughts will be evil. Every woman I see on the street will be tempered with and interfere with my imagination. Not that I watch pornography. Even if I want to watch it, I won't be able to. My wife has promised she will kill me. She's totally watching pornography. And if I caught her watching pornography, I might not kill her. I might let her watch it so that she let me too. There is only one remedy for humanity to heighten their spirituality and reach the divine or angelic aspect of their soul. That is through the creative power of the words and teachings of the manifestation of God. And today, the words and teachings of Baha'u'llah. Of all the writings of religions of the past, none have a clear explanation on the operation of our soul or spirit in man than the explanation given by Abdul Baha'i. He said, human beings have 5 outer powers or outward powers. These are the power of the senses. This is sight that perceives objects, hearing that perceives audible things, taste that perceives food, smell that perceives odor, and feelings which is present in all parts of the body that perceives tangible things. He also said that we human beings have 5 inner or inward powers. These are imagination that conceives the image, the power of thought that reflect on reality, the power of comprehension that comprehend reality, and the power of memory which store in its repository what was imagined, think and comprehend. And the 5th inner power is a power that plays between the outer and inner powers, or connect the outer power to the inner power. And this is termed the common faculty, because it is common to the outer and the inner power. Let me use this to demonstrate. Let's see if the theory works. Sight is one of the outer powers that see this object, and compare it to the common faculties which transport the image to imagination. And the power of imagination, after it imagines the shape of the object, conveyed to the power of thought. The power of thought reflects on the object, and after it grasps its reality, confer it to the power of comprehension. And the power of comprehension, after it comprehended, convey it to the memory, which store what I saw, imagine, think, and comprehend in its repository. Now let's test the theory if it works. It's a vase, doesn't have flowers. I've got a pear shape with different brown colors. So I'm sure you can all see that as well. So it proves that the theory works. I gather from what I was saying that this operation can work in instants. So there are 5 outer powers, as explained by Zealand Baha'i. These are the power of the senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and feeling. There are also 5 inner powers. These are imagination, power of thought, comprehension, memory, and a common faculty. Now, after this half an hour I've been talking, I'm sure you'd like to hear some good news. You want to hear me say some good news. Well, I'll tell you the good news that as we have proved the immortality of the souls, that all of you are going to the next world. What I cannot tell you is whether you're going to heaven or hell. I know where I'm going. I had a discussion with this woman, this is a long time ago. I don't know how we end up talking about life after death, but I told her I know where I'm going to the next world. And she said, oh, and she immediately said to me, oh look, I really want to follow your footsteps to the next world. Because I know where you're going. I know you're going to a good place. Because you pray every day. I was sort of taken back by this lady. And I looked her in the eyes with my heart full of sympathy for her and said, and I said to her, look lady, you don't know where I'm going. And I strongly advise you not to follow my footsteps to the next world. And she said, how come? Why is that? And I said to her, because I'm actually going to hell. And I said to her, because I'm actually going to hell, and that is why I pray every day. Well, this is story time. I've got a few stories to tell you before I continue. I'll tell you the story of how I end up praying every day. I was watching a movie of Austin Power. You know Austin Power, right? And there was Dr. Evil in that movie. All I had a dream on that night was terrible dreams, almost like a nightmare. I dreamed that I died and I went to the next world. And I was directed to a narrow passage. And I come across a huge gate made out of gold and diamonds. But on the top of this gate were these words, welcome to hell. So that's how I knew I'm going to hell. And standing by this gate that was closed was this Dr. Evil in that movie I saw. And he was talking to me in the Dr. Evil way of speaking with his finger on the side of his mouth. And he was saying to me, this must be your lucky day, Mr. White. I said, how come? And then he said, well, as you can see, we have closed the gate of hell. Because hell is full. And I said to him, well, what am I going to do now, here now? And he said, well, they told me, and he said, they told me to tell you they're giving you one more chance. And they're sending you back to the world, but they want you from now on. You must pray every day. I've been frantically praying every day ever since that dream. And they told me too to tell you guys you cannot be bad anymore in this world because there's no place for you to go because hell is full. So you've got no choice but to be good. I don't know about this phenomena that's spreading like wildfire here in the world and in New Zealand now, talking to the dead, what they call the medium. Oh, here, I have an uncle that belongs to a particular church, and this church have temples, and one of the commitments of the member of this church is to enter this temple once in their lifetime. And my uncle in the island came and visited the temple of this church here in New Zealand. And he said that one of the things they show in this church are your relatives or your immediate family that have died. And he said he was directed to a room, and then on the screen was the image of a bird. And they say, that's your father Soliai. And the next image, they said, that's your mother Alapata. These are the only immediate families that have died. Next image, they say, that's your brother Ioane. And the next image, they say, that's your other brother Tuau. The next image, my uncle said, was a butterfly. But it was like a sick butterfly. It's not flying very well. And they say, that's your sister Manasesa. And my uncle said he jumped off his chair and yelled out with his fist up in the air and called out to them and said, excuse me, sir, that sister of mine is still alive. and I've got proof of that. Asked his son that lives in Tauranga named Pesa. That was my mother, and she was still alive then at that time. But this is just story, friends. Now back to our subject. One of the questions that was put to Baha'i during his lifetime, there are so many questions was put to Baha'i. One of the questions put to Baha'i is that the materialists arguing that there's no proof of life after death, because no one has died or went to the next world and come back. And Abdul Baha answered that it's impossible for the superior to be understood by the inferior. The next life is in a different condition, different state. It's superior. And it's not possible for the inferior of this life to understand the superior. So he said it's like the animals. No matter how much you can train the animal, let's say a monkey, no matter how much you can train a monkey for how long, they will never understand abstract knowledge of man. The monkey will never understand that the earth rotates around the sun. They will never understand, no matter how much you can train this monkey, that the earth rotates around the sun in 365 days, 5 hours, 49 minutes and a fraction. They will never understand that the 5 hours and 49 minutes and a fraction accumulate, and in every 4 years a complete cycle of the earth around the sun, and that's what we call a leap year. But this lack of understanding of the monkey does not prove there is no such knowledge that man possesses. It's the same with the materialist. No matter how much they argue, it will not prove there is such thing called life after death. It is because it's in a different condition, different state, and it's superior. It's impossible for the inferior to understand. There's a great difference between something that is impossible and something that is unknown. Or your mobile phone 50 years ago did not exist. But that non-existent mobile phone 50 years ago is called an unknown non-existent. It's not an impossible non-existent, because any impossible non-existent will never become an existent. So that was called an unknown non-existent. For the materialist to understand life after death is not an unknown, non-existent understanding. it's an impossible understanding. So it's not something that one day they will understand it even though they are not there. I coming to the conclusion of my remarks, but I have one thing to tell you. I quite often ask or hear people talk about wishing that we can see our life in the next world. There is a wisdom why we are not shown the next world. And it's very clear in our writing from Baha'u'llah, and I'm going to paraphrase these words from Baha'u'llah. It's in the second to the last page of Gleanings of Baha'u'llah. The wisdom is that if it's shown to us our life in the next world, it will have a devastating result. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't like quoting it because I might make a little mistake, or I might forget one word. He said the mystery of man's physical death and of his return have not been divulged, and it still remains unread. And by the righteousness of God, were it to be revealed, it would evoke such fear and sorrow that some would perish, and others would be filled with so much gladness that they wish to die, and beseech with unceasing longing the one true God to hasten their end. So you can see the wisdom longer not shown. I'll use myself here as an example. If my life in the next world is shown to me, and if it's bad, I was a sinner in this world and it's bad, I'll be filled with so much fear and sorrow that I will perish. And if my life in the next world is shown that it is good, then I'll be filled with so much gladness that I wish to die. And I can just picture that if I don't die, because I'm going to be beseeching God with unceasing longing to hasten my end. If I don't die, I shouldn't say this, but there are no kids in here. If I don't die naturally, I'll probably die in my own hands. This is reality. I want to mention that. So you can see the wisdom of it. We are not shown the next life. This is the condition that Abdul Baha said, that this is the condition that the martyrs rush to their death. This world meant nothing to anybody that is shown the next life, if your condition next life is a good condition. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I deliver something to help you in your reflection on our subject of the morning of life after death.
We still have time for the questions. Do you have any questions? Pesa is here. Yes, Nona?
Okay. It's already. You must have read my mind, so that I should bring it with me. I decided to bring the mirror, and I brought this book. Yes, this is the book. This is Dr. Gaspar. You can have a read of it, and then if you're able to buy a copy, you can give back my copy.
Questions?
Oh, do I have to stand out? I might not be able to answer all your questions, but you can answer, and everyone else can help pitch in and answer the question.
Yes, Michael?
Just wondering, Pesa, if you've got a few comments on what is it that determines our life in this world, the nature of our life.
What do you determine? Oh, well, I guess you have to live the life in this world. Live the life in this world. I can only mention Abdul Bahas said.
Can you repeat the question, please? What was the question?
The question was, what determines the nature of our life in the next world?
If Pesa repeats the question, it can be heard in the other room as well. Otherwise, they won't know what's being said.
Sorry?
If Pesa repeats the question, it'll be heard in the other room, in the AV room as well.
Okay. The question is, what determines our life in the next world?
Nature.
What determines the nature?
Oh, what determines the nature of our life in the next world? It's a bit technical for me. Can someone help in that? Yeah.
I think in reading all I said, know verily that all will have a truly just reward. So based on justice in the next world, virtue involved as well. So all will receive a truly just reward.
Based on justice and reward. Yeah, that's a very good point. I can only mention three things what Abdul Baha said. You can find some other question that assist the progress of our soul in the next world. One is by the bounty of God alone, and the next is the good work that perform on behalf of this person. And I think the third one is that the intercession, the prayer of the pure soul, the living, you pray for. So the bounty of God, the intercession from the living, for you pray for those ones who died, and then and good work that is performed on their behalf. Does that answer?
Abdul Baha also explains that the powers necessary that we can use in the other world must be obtained here, and gives the example of a child in the womb of the mother that develops all the organs necessary for this work on the world of the womb of the mother. So what we need for the next work, we have to develop them here.
So like acquiring as much virtues as we can. Yeah, that reminds me of my boss during the Christmas celebration. He said to me, what are your goals, Diana? Then I answered back saying, my goal actually, the one I have in mind is to achieve my purpose in life, and that is to acquire more virtues. And then he said, oh, that's really very good. and then one of my boss said, oh yes, because Diana is managing with the power of love. Yes?
I'm going to change the subject. You mentioned heaven and hell, and this sort of colourful image of Dr. Evil and the golden gates of hell. So, traditional sort of description of heaven and hell is sort of very graphic about fire and, grimness and the grim reaper and so forth. What's the Baha'i view of heaven and hell, in respect or in comparison with that?
Well, one thing it says from Abdul Baha, make it very clear, he mentioned this sentence, it's not a place. So I sort of meditate on that sentence for a long time, and always remember in my mind it's not a place. So heaven is like close to God. It's very clear in our writings. I'm only paraphrasing here, but I'm afraid I might. I can only give you a short version of what it says. But it says, Abdul Baha said that in the next world, the heaven is closer to God, and hell. He said that hell in the next world is not growing because this world, he mentioned you can have two types of movements in this world. You can move back and forward, but in the next world, because it's not a physical world, not moving is considered to be hell. That's it's like you're moving back. So if your state of soul, whatever condition your soul was, and you're not progressing, so that's hell. And heaven is, you're moving on to eternity, moving on closer to God.